So, in Christian leadership, we've been talking about raising leaders, right? And in the last few classes, we've been looking at what are some qualities that we need to look for in potential leaders, right? Or what are some, in other words, what are some qualities that we need to develop in potential leaders so that they can be nurtured to be future leaders, right? So we looked at some 11 things that are required. And if you again, like we said, these are qualities that may not be there in a full measure in every person that you are considering to be a leader, but at least in some, some may be very, very strong in some qualities, some of these attributes. What are we talking about? Spiritual maturity, alignment to the vision, those kind of things. They might be, some might be very strong, some may have to be developed in those areas. So give them that time, but give them that input, right? So so there should be some kind of a way in which maybe one-on-one, or maybe you are connecting, maybe as a group, so that these things can be developed in them, right? Even before they are considered to be future leaders, these qualities should be developed in them, right? And then you can consider them for leadership positions or leadership roles. Okay. So last class we looked at different stages, like stages of nurturing leaders, right? So if it comes to nurture, what does nurture mean? Nurture means to encourage, to kind of grow the person, to give input, to share, to grow the person as leaders, right? So when we nurture leaders, they go through different seasons or different stages, right? And the first one we saw was a preparation stage, where we are sharing the vision, sharing how things need to be done, and what is the way to go about doing it, right? For example, if the leader is going to be handling a certain ministry, area of ministry, for example, let's say, okay, children's ministry. So for that person, then that person needs to be told what is the vision of children's ministry, right? And what are some of the common objectives that you have, nurturing children, teaching children, correcting, maybe maybe interacting with parents, and all those things. All that relevant information needs to be shared. Now they might have questions. Those questions have to be clarified and answered, right? So so that is there. You're spending a lot of time talking, you're spending a lot of time sharing information with them. Now this is the preparation stage. Okay, so we understand, okay, if I need to raise up a leader, no, I need to do this, I cannot avoid this, right? So which means I need to be spending time frequently, meeting maybe every day almost, in order to do this, right? Okay, so we are also emphasizing certain things, like certain non-compromising things like character, responsibility, and all the other values that we talked about, right? Those 11 things that we talked about. You're saying, okay, these are things that are required. You need to develop in this, and we can give honest feedback, right? So this is the preparation stage. Now the second stage, which is the initial formative stage, the person is actually now stepping into the leadership role. Okay, so children's ministry, for example, we'll use the same example. Children's ministry, they are considered, the person you consider, they are stepping into that role of leading a team, right? So what is your involvement now as a leader, right? So the thing is, if we were leading earlier, we are tempted to do the things ourselves. Why? Because they are doing it maybe slower than how we used to, right? Maybe they are, they're still getting used to doing those things. They are still getting used to making certain decisions and all that, interacting with the other team members. They're still getting used to it. So we feel tempted to rush in and do it ourselves, right? So that is something that we need to avoid, because we've given them the role. Now we can help them by interacting, meeting, clarifying their doubts, and also telling them, hey, you need to do this a little quickly. Maybe you need to give this a little bit of more time, right? Don't be hasty, and all those kind of necessary instructions we need to give, right? So what happens if we always rush in and do the work? Then they'll become dependent on us, right? Okay. Now, any difficulty, any challenge, okay. Now, let them, whom you are reporting to, they'll think that okay, he will do it. I don't have to do it. But really, you want to build strength in that person so that they can actually do the task themselves, right? So we give them the opportunity, and we also, enable them to do that, right? So um, this is a time where we need to give. We also looked at feedback, right? What is the feedback? And it is sharing information. It is telling, sharing information about how things need to be done, how things should not be done, also, right? And honest feedback. Okay, how was it? How did you do? How did you fare? It's like giving a honest report card. So that's the initial stage. Then the settling in stage. The third stage we looked at, settling in stage, in which the leaders now doing the role of taking on the role of leadership of that ministry, children's ministry. They're doing very well. They're making decisions. They don't come to you for decisions, but they're making decisions because all the values, the vision of the ministry, the goals and everything, they have now, it's become part of them. Right? They understand. It's become part of them. So you don't need to interfere, and they don't need to come back to you every time. So they are able to do. The team also, they've got to know who's part of the team, and they've got a working relationship, understanding, and they're working well, right? So we continue to watch how they're progressing, continue to give feedback. But the involvement, the extent to which we were involved, every day we're talking and sharing, asking how it's going. That involvement slowly is becoming less and less, right? Because they are doing the job, and you're becoming less and less involved in their lives. But you're still involved, right? You give input or you give advice whenever it is asked, or whenever you feel that there's something critical and your advice is required, right? Then there is a maturity stage where that leader that you have raised up, they begin to do for others what you did for them, right? So they begin to lead others, they begin to look for other leaders, and they begin to nurture them and develop them, right? So this is the maturity stage in a leader. So they are delegating their responsibilities, part of their responsibilities, to others. So there are other leaders who are raising up. We looked at how Paul referred to some of the leaders in the church in Jerusalem as the pillars of the church, right? So when we have more pillars, then the structure is strong, and we're able to build further up, right? Expand and so on. So all that happens because other leaders are being raised up. Okay, and then so things go to a new level in terms of it progresses, right? Maybe even further than what you were doing, right? So there's no reason to feel insecure. It is just because the person is doing well, and we should be, happy for them. They're doing well. Maybe they're taking it even beyond, or it's bigger, better than how things used to be, right? That's a cause for rejoicing, actually, because we're talking about ministry, we're talking about God's kingdom, and so we need to be able to appreciate, right, the good work that is done, and uh, and then they're moving forward, right? So our interaction with the leader, yes, we're talking about, okay, what else can the leader do, right? Because it's functioning well, this area of ministry is functioning well. Is there a new area of leadership that the person can take up and do in addition to this, or can this be handed over to someone so that the leader can focus on any other new area? So all these kind of discussions can take place in this stage of maturity, right? Then there is the stage of transition, where there are others who are doing the role of what the leader used to do. Okay, you've raised up the leader, and there are others that the leader has raised up. So there are enough and more people who are doing everything functional. Really efficiently, effectively, and that leader probably can move. to another totally different area of ministry, right? Totally different new role, because they are capable, they have matured, they've grown, and maybe they are now ready for something else altogether. Okay. So you as a leader, you help them transition. What does it mean to transition?
Shift.
Sorry?
Shift.
Shift. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you were saying something else. To move to another place, right? So yeah, to shift, to move. So it's all about change, right? So when we say transition, it means going from one stage to another stage, or moving from one phase to another phase. So there is a change involved, right? So so as a leader, you facilitate that change. You facilitate that, so that with every change comes new challenges. Not everybody can adapt to change very well, right? So you, as a leader, you help facilitate that change. Same thing, how you help them to take on the role of leadership. In the same manner, you help them to transition into the new role of leadership, while making sure that, okay, there is someone else there to take their, the role that they were doing all these years, maybe, right? So we see that 6 stages in nurturing leaders. Okay, so this is quite valuable for us to follow. It's important for us to follow, and so we can actually think, okay, in what stage is this person in? Right? We can, based on the kind of work they do, based on the kind of team that they have built, and the effectiveness of the team, we can understand, okay, this person is probably, in this stage of this leadership, if you want to call it a leadership journey, right? So we can accordingly change, adapt, and our engagement with the leaders, right? Okay, so one of the best ways to really fast track or create and develop leaders is to give opportunities, right? Create opportunities for the people to serve, for the people to take up leadership roles, right? So, which means, you know, we should be willing, we should be ready to make that change. See, normally when things are going fine, we don't want to change anything. We don't want to fix anything. It's fine, like it's effective. So let it run. Right? Let me not make any changes to the system now. The vehicle is running smoothly. Let it run. Okay, but when it comes to leadership, see, the thing is that we need to constantly nurture, raise up leaders. Okay, so yes, things are going fine, but can I make any changes? Can I create? Is there a place, or does this have new ministry, or new ministry potential, or new ministry? Is there a new ministry area that we can develop? Okay, now that is an additional thing. That is more work, but we can think of putting some leaders there whom we have nurtured, right? Because if we raised up leaders, okay, maybe there are 3, 4 leaders who've raised up, and we can actually think, okay, what kind of a role is this person suited to? Can we develop a new area of ministry? Can we open up a new area of ministry? And can this person actually do it? Okay, so that is how we actually expand, like grow and advance the kingdom of God as well, right? So you're looking at new opportunities and new areas of ministries which you never considered before, but also considering whether the person has the calling and the gifting to do that, right? So that's the thing that we do. So when we create opportunities and we put people there to lead, then we are actually developing them like into leaders, right? Okay, so like I've seen some of you do that, right? Even with the first year students, or you do that, right? Whatever you've been doing, you're teaching them, and you're saying, okay, now you do it, right? And so that is in a small way, that is how we nurture others, right? So specifically here, we are talking about new areas that others can come and take up places of leadership, right? Another thing that we need to consider is that what will develop leaders is when we share feedback and when we also share correction. So when it's not just the good things, But we also share, hey, this is a feedback, this is something that we need to change, right? See, sometimes what happens is we are doing some things we are supposed to do, okay, some area of ministry. We might be making mistakes that we are not even aware of. We are making mistakes mistakes. I'm not talking about sinfulness or something as blatant as that, but in our day-to-day functioning, we could be making some choices, making some decisions which are not really effective, right? So unless somebody comes and gives us that, tells us that, hey, what you're doing, the way you say these things, it could be in the area of communication, it could be in the area of how we normally, our temperament maybe. So unless somebody tells us, hey, this you need to change, we might be ignorant and we will never change. So we will carry on maybe that same kind of weakness or same kind of thing that we carry, or same fault, we carry it on. Right? So feedback is a good thing. And people come and say, this is a problem. Right? Not receiving feedback is bad. But yes, sometimes we get upset. When people come and say, this was bad, we get upset, right? Personally, we take it very personally, oh, I was not able to do, and look at this, I put in so much effort, and this person comes and says that it was not up to the mark. Sometimes we feel dejected. I'm never doing it again, right? I'm never. That's a wrong thing to do, right? When we receive feedback, and when we receive negative feedback, it's actually a thing to reflect and see, okay, is there truth in it, or is this person just saying it, right? There's a feedback coming, and it could be from some random person, right? If it is, you think about it. Okay, is there any truth to it? Like, even if there 1% truth there, consider that and say, okay, this 1% truth is there. 99% is some emotion thing, but 1% is truth. So let me address that. Let me receive that and do something about it. So that's a good thing. So when we provide feedback, encouragement, and correction, it helps develop the leader, right? Just as how it would help us personally, it would help develop the leader, right? So we need to communicate, we need to share in such a manner, not to put the person down, not to kind of destroy their dignity, but we do it in such a way so that person understand, hey, it is for your good, right? It is, I don't have anything personal, I don't have anything anything to any other reason apart from the fact that we want you to do well, we want you to do better, right? Like when the Lord points out certain areas in our life that needs change, why does he do that, right? You think about it. When the Lord does that, when the Holy Spirit convicts us, why does he do that? Because he doesn't want us to destroy our lives. Yeah. He has a plan. He wants us to go higher, further. He doesn't want our lives to um, just stifle and stop and be in like a prison kind of thing. Like, he wants us to go further. He wants us to actually, his plans, right? His plans for us uh, is to always to do good and bring good into our lives. So he has that in mind. So anything that is stopping that, right? The abundant life that he has, the plans that he has for us to give us hope in the future. So anything that we are doing that brings an end to that, that hampers that stops that, well, the Holy Spirit convicts us, right? So it is for our good, right? So similarly, when we have that as a role model, we have that as a as a pattern. So, but we need to have the same heart, right? When we are developing leaders, we need to have the same heart, saying the heart of the Father, uh, to share the feedback in such a way, not to put down the person. Yes, we might be angry sometimes. How can that person make a mistake? I've told so many times, I've instructed so many times, and again, this person has made the mistake. So you're sharing, you're correcting, But that correction should not come from a place of, I will destroy this person. No, it is to share. It is for the betterment of the person, right? Okay. So when people in that environment, okay, let's say church, let's say ministry, work, uh, if there is freedom to evaluate, if there is freedom to share this feedback, and if there is freedom to communicate these things, then actually we will see actual development. Why? Because people are able to, they don't take things personally. They don't take it to heart. They're saying, okay, this is factual. This is valuable, right? Valuable information. I'm getting an input. So let me try and change the way I work so that this can be corrected. So we see that in such an environment, right? It could be a church, ministry, whatever team. There is a lot of growth. Like people are growing. People are, they are maturing. They are growing as leaders, right? So we need to bring in that kind of a culture, that kind of an environment, right? Okay. Any questions here? No? Okay. Okay. Um, so the thing is that when leaders develop other leaders, then with that whole leadership development, it's multiplied many times, right? So one person can develop one leader, and the other leader can develop another leader, and so on. So it's very, very, it's exponential, right? It just when you have such a culture within the organization or church ministry, then that creates multiplication, right? That creates growth in leadership. Okay. Okay. So then let's just move on to another slightly different topic when it comes to making decisions. Okay. Do you make decisions every day? Yes. Simple decisions, complex decisions, we make decisions every day, right? Every moment we are actually making choices, making decisions. So a decision is, a course of action, right? A course of action saying that, okay, this is what I want to do next. So it's a decision. Okay, we should not be doing this. A decision, right? So I'm not going to do anything about it. That is also a decision. Inaction is also a decision, right? Um, so decision making, when it comes to decision making within the church or ministry or organization, how can we? So decision making is important for leaders. Yes, decisions have to be made. So how to help the decision making process? Okay, because so let's say you are the person who are making decisions always. What kind of decisions as a leader? Maybe you decide, okay, so much of money has to be spent. A decision. We are having the meeting in that venue. That's a decision, right? So now you've raised up other leaders, and they need to make these decisions that you used to make, for example, right? You used to make these decisions, and now the others have to make the decisions, right? So how to make so that you don't have to be involved. Now, for example, we're talking about delegation, right? So are we going to be looking at delegation here? No. So when when Moses was actually making decisions, right? He was actually from sunrise to sundown. People will come with their problems. People will come with the challenges, problems, whatever, and Moses will actually say, "Okay, you're having this problem, this thing." Based on God's counsel, he will advise them. Right? He will say, "Okay, this is something that you need to do." So he was doing that. Now there were a lot of people coming and a lot of people, asking or relying on Moses. So Moses' father-in-law Jethro, so he sees this and he says, "Hey, you can't be doing this all the time, right? You'll tire yourself out. You'll get burnt out. So you can't be doing this. So what do? You select other leaders. You appoint other leaders who will do these tasks, right? You appoint them and let them do the task. Now the problem with that is, right? It's a good thing. That's delegation we need to do, right? The problem with that is, how do I know that they are making the right choice? right? So without your intervention, how do I know that they are making the right choice? What if they make a poor choice, and as a result of which the whole church or ministry or organization is affected, right? So how do I know? Also, maybe somebody is struggling to make a decision. Okay, they're struggling about, okay, what date should we have the program, and everything else is getting stuck, right? People are waiting for you to decide, waiting for you to say yes, so that they can plan, they can, that date. Maybe other ministries want to use that date. It's a Saturday, and they want to have the programs, but you've already, said, okay, I want to do something there, but you've not confirmed yet, right? So everybody is waiting, right? So and the decision is not confirmed or made, then, well, there's a backlog. Everybody is waiting. It's like a traffic jam, right? So that could happen. So we should have a process for decision making in the organization. We're not talking about individual decisions. We're talking about an organization, meaning it could be a ministry, it could be a church, however big or small it is, right? Now, if you're leading a church, I'm sure, different churches have different ways of making decisions, right? Some of you are, whose parents are, I mean, your father is a pastor or the thing. It follows different structure. Some will have a committee, some the pastor himself or herself makes the decision. No one else. Sometimes it's participatory. You have an elder system where elders decide, and then they bring it to the pastor, and so on. Different ways. However it is, there are some things that we need to understand and put in place, that keep established, so that the decision making process is smooth, right? So that the decision making process is effective. Okay, so this is very important. Otherwise, there'll be confusion, right? For each and everything, people will come to the topmost leader and say, and then that person does not have to be involved. For example, right? If you're using that water dispenser, right, and you need to order some more cans of water, right? Do you go and ask the senior pastor, say, how many cans of today can I order cans? No, you will not, right? So there's someone else with whom you check, or maybe there is someone else who is appointed for that. As soon as these cans get over, please inform and get cans, right? So something like that may be done already. So you don't have to go to the any other leader to check, right? But if there are people are checking constantly, or we need this, we need that, then the decision making process is not effective. You need to change that. Like today, if you have to go and ask pastor, okay, um, you know, can we have this for lunch, or then tomorrow, what do we have? How much lunch should I order? Now, if there's something like that, if it's happening, such a conversation, discussion, that means the decision making process is not proper, right? It's not effective. So, what will help the decision making process? Let's look at a few things here, right? Firstly, make the standards very clear. Okay. Standards meaning based on what are you going to decide? Okay, so which means that we're going to, how do we differentiate? How do I know something that is right and wrong? Okay, which means it has to be biblical, right? It has to be biblical. You won't indulge in something that is unscriptural, right? Unethical, unlawful. We will not do that. So we will be people of integrity. Okay, so we were talking about offering the process, etc. Right? So there'll be certain things that we will not compromise on, right? We'll make sure that high values of integrity, everything is maintained. Accuracy, feasibility. Feasibility means is it suitable? Is it possible? Right? And also the quality of certain things, quality of the service, quality of service. By service I mean, if we get a vendor and we're saying, okay, we want you to help us put up or paint this thing, so the quality of it, right, we need to decide. So make the standards very, very clear, right? So we are saying that, okay, if the church needs to start, the service in the morning, it needs to start at this time. We're making the standard very clear, right? There needs to be no doubt. If it's 8 o'clock, we start at 8 o'clock sharp. If it's 10:30, we start whatever time, we start. So there's punctuality, there's accuracy, right? There's no what do you call doubt about it, right? There's no gray area. It's very clear. Okay. The second thing, so that's one thing. What are the standards? Okay, if you for me to decide, okay, this is it. This is right. This is wrong. So I decide, and if something needs to be done, and I need to decide, okay, the standards are very clear. Okay, we will not do anything that is unethical. We will not do anything that is unlawful. We will not do anything that is unscriptural. Very clear. So the person knows, like you used to do those decisions. Now the other person also knows, and everyone else in the organization knows, okay, this is the standard for us to make the decision. Second thing is to have a system for approving of decisions. Okay, so what do we mean by that? For example, something needs to be bought for the Bible College. Okay, so you're saying, okay, Bible College needs needs an AC. This room needs an AC. Okay, so okay, summer it's very hot. We need to put at least it's getting hotter and hotter. We need to put. So now, who approves it? Does the warden approve it? Right? Does the student, whoever is the leader, does approve it? The warden approve it? Does the principal approve it? Does the senior pastor approve it? Right. So that's the process, right? For example, okay, certain purchases. Okay, I need to buy some paper, Xerox paper, printing paper. We need to buy markers. We need to buy, something for the board. All that, maybe someone can approve. It's a value, small value, right? It's a small value, maybe 500, 1,000, 2,000, whatever. But the minute the value of the whatever you're going to consider buying, if it goes up, you're thinking about some assets, like you're thinking about a vehicle, right? We're thinking about infrastructure like air conditioners. Then someone else has to approve. So that needs to be set, right? Like as an associate pastor, I can approve some purchases, for the church, and I can sign and say, okay, please buy, go ahead, buy. But when it comes to certain high values, like maybe it's 10,000, 20,000 rupees, then I can recommend, but the approval has to come from someone else higher, right? Pastor has to approve it. Only then the accounts will release the payment for that. So this is clear. So as long as it's maybe 5,000 or something, I can just approve it. Right? It's very clear in my mind. So I don't have to wait. I don't have to fast and pray and wait. Right? I just have to approve. Okay, this is required. This is necessary. This is the amount. I can approve it. Right? But I need to check and see. Okay, is it really wanted? Is it really necessary? Can we? Is it a wastage? Right? All that I need to think about all that. But then I can approve it. So if we make the system of approving of decisions very clear, then it becomes easier, right? So what are we something daily decisions are there, daily purchase decisions maybe. So we need to put in place the system of approval. Okay. Okay. Did anybody ask a question? Put their hand up. Okay, I wasn't very sure. Okay. So then, so it could also be, who makes what decisions. So that's another thing. When we need to hire people, who makes a decision? Who makes the decision to announce about, okay, we need so many people, we need additional people, we need something to help in administration, we need to someone, who makes that choice, right? So that also needs to be clear. So when we do that, then decision making will not be delayed. Okay, because if there's a need, and if there's a delay in decision making because there's no clarity, then it becomes a problem, right? But if the approval process is set, it's clear, then it will help in speedy decisions. right? So speedy decisions help us to do things effectively, right? Okay. If some decisions need the approval of others, then list down the process of approval, clarity, right? So important decisions, some certain decisions require a certain time. It needs to be done within a certain time, right? It needs to be done within maybe half a day or maybe 1 day, 2 days. We need to do that quickly, right? So to have that clarity will help make a decision quicker, right? Okay. So third thing, be open for discussions and be open for inputs. Um, so we need to have an environment where people will discuss and say, okay, hey, actually, you know what? We don't have to buy this. We can actually make use of things that we have. There are some things in the store, we can storage, we can actually use it. We can repair it, we can use it. So don't buy, when you buy, it's a waste. Or people can be saying that, I know that you're continuing to use these things, you're repairing it, you're using it, but actually there's a great offer. Maybe you could just go in for a new equipment, things like that, right? So be open for discussions, be open for others to bring in some new information, valuable input. Okay, so that always helps, right? So it helps us to make a good, strong decision. Okay. So what happens when we make some bad decisions, right? You need to take responsibility as a leader, right? Okay, whatever decision, good, bad, ugly, right? Ultimately, you and I, as a leader, we need to take the decisions. I mean, take the responsibility for the decision. You can't blame others, right? Ultimately, you decided and you gave the approval. Now you can't put it on others and say, okay, I don't know, and you can't blame others, right? So you take responsibility for the decision and also responsibility for facing the consequences of bad decisions, right? To say that, okay, it was my decision, I know things went bad, and I'm to be blamed. Let's see how we can solve it, how we can come out of it. So even consequences of bad decisions, we need to be able to face it. Okay, any questions here? Any questions? Anything at all?
So, Pastor, like about taking decisions and approvals and all.
Yeah.
So for now, for APC, we can understand we have a very
Yeah.
big system.
Yeah.
When we think about our culture in our churches,
Yeah.
we don't have that much expenses. Everything the pastor will take
Yeah.
care, and so only few times church youth they'll involve, and some pastors they involve.
Right.
So how we can start, even in the little in that culture, how we can
Yeah.
start that system,
Right.
how we
Right.
can start making use of that expenses.
Right. So yeah. So see, every ministry at some point starts with only one person taking all the decisions. Right. That's true. Either of APC or the thing, it was the same thing. Like at one point, it was one person making all the decisions and buying, purchase, everything. It was so. The thing is that when we grow, we cannot have that luxury. One person making the decision all the time. Okay, so that's the thing. And also, the thing is to have that growth mindset where we are developing the people all the time, right? We are developing people who are loyal. We are developing the people with the who agree with one heart and one mind. So when we develop people and we see that they are trustworthy, and then we can actually give that responsibility for that person. So it goes with leadership development as well. These kind of things. So you're giving the responsibility for that person and saying, hey, you decide, you choose, right? I'm authorizing you to make a decision, right? But within this frame, right? Within this, these decisions you make, the other decisions I will make. That understanding. So the person understands, okay, this decision for these kind of situations I will make, other decisions pastor will make, right? So, and also we need to check as well, see, where things are going right, where things are going wrong. So that kind of a thing. So yeah, it seems like additional work. Like already I have so many things, why should I? But then it actually helps in the long run where the person gets the experience, person is also involved, right? And person is also developing as a leader. So it helps. So no matter how small it is, it's good to think on those lines. Now today I'm small, but tomorrow in the years ahead, this is going to be bigger. So when it grows bigger, how can it be? How can I like position for growth? Okay? So which means what do I need to do now in order to grow to that kind of that scope, that size of ministry. So yeah, so it very closely goes with leadership development as well. Yeah. And it's fine, if there's one person, sometimes it's like that for a season, maybe for even for years, only one person needs to make the decision. There's no requirement for others to do it. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah.
Pastor, what if pastor is telling like uh, you can't take any decisions, like every decision should I take?
I will take. Yeah. So there are some organizations like that, where pastor says, okay, I will only take all the decisions. Yeah. So the consequences of that will be like, for every decision we have to go to the pastor, even if it's small, even if it's big, and probably that person, um, maybe he has his own reasons, because maybe things went bad in the past when he trusted someone. So he doesn't want to do that again. He wants to be careful. But it'll be good if the person, okay, these are the mistakes of the past. These are some learnings. But now, how can we change? How can we go forward? Right. So even if things are big, for that particular ministry, like there is the need is more, the reach is more, and if there's only one person who's making the decisions, then it's going to be really a strain on that person. So unless that person realizes that and changes things, then it'll be difficult. He's just making it difficult for himself or herself. That's the thing. So, but when they change it, then it'll be good, right? But we need to respect that. We can't fight it. If the person says, "Okay, I'll only decide," fine, no problem. You can actually say, "Can I help?" Like if you're close enough, and if you have that opportunity, you can always say, "Can I help in this?" I'll come to you, I'll listen, but can I help? I see that you're busy. I see that you're doing 10 other things, but can I help with this one thing? It'll help for you. So when the person who's pastor, whoever sees that, okay, you have good things, good intentions. It's not that you want to something for yourself. Then most likely they will say, okay, fine, go ahead, do it. Yeah.
Yes, Pastor, like sometimes if pastor is the only taking all responsibilities and all, so we want to help him like that. But for because of that, we also didn't get opportunities to do something. Like we want to organize youth meeting, we want to do something.
Yeah.
So in that case, what we should do?
Yeah. So we should approach and talk to the pastor and say, okay, can we do this? And because they are involved in everything. You can see they're doing main church services, they are doing and other things, cell groups, everything that they're doing. So the thing is to go along and help, to go alongside and help, because only then will the trust be established. Trust and relationship will be established. Once the trust and relationship is there, and when you suggest that, okay, I can help in this area if you're willing, then they will be able to, but if the trust and relationship is not there, and if we suggest, I can do this, I'm gifted, I can do it, then they may not agree.
Pastor, here we are learning this lot of things, like it will be very benefits for our future also.
Right.
But the people who don't know these things, like nurturing leaders and all, so for them it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult. because without this understanding, they're going by experience, maybe past experience, past hurts sometimes. So yeah, it is challenging. Yeah, that's true. And that's why, like some of these things are also in the form of messages and books and everything addressed to the pastors. Right? If you see whatever conferences and things that we do, it is addressed to the pastors, addressed to those in ministry. Some of the books that are put out, so that it will help, right? Things like Kingdom Builders, Code of Honor, all that is addressed to the ones who are actually heading, leading, so they can have the right perspective. Yeah. Kingdom Builders, especially, I think it talks about how we need to raise up leaders. And yes, so that's the thing. It's a biblical principle perspective. Yeah. Okay. Is it this question? Yeah. Is it good to have a core team wherein some important decisions can be taken through discussions? Yes, definitely. For every ministry, it's good to have a team which is like-minded, has the same vision. Like-minded in the sense, I'm not talking about sameness, but at least they have the same vision, same burden. Right now, they could be different, approaching a problem from different perspectives, and they might have different inputs. But ultimately, you're the leader. You take the call, right? But definitely, it will help to have discussions, have various inputs, consider, weigh the plus and the minus of the decision that you need to take, and make a choice, informed choice, right? And yes, it's definitely it's valuable, and it's crucial to have a good core team which has the same values, and which is not pulling in different direction, which has the same vision. So that is important, right? It's not having a core team for the sake of generating ideas, but then having a core team that has the same vision, same passion, same vision, same heart. Then it'll be helpful. If they don't have the same vision, then it won't be helpful, right? I hope that helps, Biju. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So we'll stop here for today, right? And next class when we meet, we'll talk about creating and nurturing kingdom culture, right? Okay. Thank you. God bless.